WLC Lethwei Showcase. What a fun show that was. It's great as ever to be joined by the main man, my co-commentator, Sean Wheelock. Sean, how much fun was that? First of all, who stood out for you there? We'll do the co-main, we'll do the main, but there's so many who really had a great show. But for you, who do you like the look of? Who are you keeping an eye on moving forward?
Yeah, Andrew, great to see you again. We had a lot of fun on WLC Lethwei Showcase. You and I always have a lot of fun commentating the world's best Letway, no question about it, in WLC. On this card, I really liked, and I was really pleasantly surprised by in the opening bout, the Moroccan Ayoub. Comes in from Morocco. This is his World Letway Championship debut. Really difficult and experienced opponent, and the fighter from Myanmar, JJ. And Ayoub was fantastic. It was a very even fight, but he was long, he was rangy, and Ayoub got the victory. I was very impressed by his skill set and by his game plan.
Definitely one to watch there. He's training out of Bizarre Warrior Academy, and those guys just create absolute killers. They also train the main man in our main event, Antonio Faria, who we're going to get to. I thought that was fascinating because I think you could have called it either way. JJ really started to grow into the fight, show his vast experience, and I was a little bit surprised by the result in the end. But Ayoub, definitely one to watch, looks super talented. I think my other pick who really interested me was Lethwei Henrique. I thought he put on a real technical clinic against Vladimir Shuliak. What did you make of the Brazilian? He used his teep, used those leg kicks so effectively, and they were cumulative, and the Russian in the end was worn down.
Yeah, and you nailed it on the teep. His teeps, his front teep and his rear teep were so effective, and you nailed it again by using the term worn down. Vladimir Shuliak is such a talented fighter, the Russian, both coming in, Lethwei Henrique, the Brazilian, and Shuliak, the Russian, making the World Letway Championship debuts. And with the teeps, I thought more creativity in the striking from Henrique, and just a very impressive debut, walking down, wearing down Shuliak and getting the victory in the light middleweight division.
Big performance. Also, big shout out to Ayoub. Really good knockout early doors against Saul Min, the Myanmar fighter. The co-main event then, Swan Suek against Nico Mendez. Nico Mendez looked in really good shape coming into this one. He was noticeably so much taller, rangier, just looked oozing with confidence, didn't he? And he got quite a statement finish.
Yeah, he absolutely did. Yeah, he was confident coming in. And again, these are fighters both making their World Letway Championship debut. Very different styles. And we talked about it on the commentary that you could see the difference, the approach of Mendez, the Spaniard, and Suek, the fighter from Thailand. And Mendez, a very difficult opponent. And you think how tough the circumstances are. WLC debut. Coming in is the co-main event against a really quality opponent, and he looked fantastic to the Spaniard Nico Mendez in victory.
Well, coming into this fight, he had a beautiful spinning back elbow finish in Muay Thai, and I think that really caught the attention of WLC, and they thought, you're our kind of man if you're going to produce that kind of viral knockout. That's what they love to see. That's what the fans love to see. So to follow up that hype and get the finish, do you think he has got the pedigree to be challenging for titles in WLC at middleweight?
Yeah, I think there's no question about it. He has the right style, the right attitude. And, you know, in combat sports, whether it be Letway, whether it be Muay Thai, whether it be Bareknuckle, MMA, boxing, one skill set doesn't automatically transfer. So just because you're great at something doesn't mean you're going to be great or even good at another. But Mendez coming into World Letway Championship, it looked like with just one fight, he's found a home in this promotion. And you think maybe another statement win like that, and very possibly you could see him fighting for a title.
Super, super talent, the Spaniard. On to the Portuguese then, Antonio Faria against Mendez's countryman, another Spaniard, Francisco Vinuelas. Now, I'm going to be totally honest with you, Sean. I thought that this might be a walk in the park for Faria. He's such a knockout merchant. 3 wins, 3 finishes in WLC. Coming up against a real veteran. He's had over 60 fights, fought in so many different disciplines, fought in MMA, Vale Tudo. I still thought that Faria would walk it, but it just wasn't the case. Sure, Faria showed his absolute quality in the end and his resilience, his toughness. But I've got a huge amount of respect for Vinuelas after what he brought to the table. What did you make of this fight?
Vinuela was fantastic, and we talk about his pedigree across all combat sports. And let's talk specifically about MMA. 19 pro MMA bouts for the Spaniard Francisco Vinuelas. You could see that with the inside, what's called dirty boxing in MMA, fighting the clinch game, throwing the punches. There were angles that I just don't think Faria was used to seeing, especially on the inside. And this is the first time now in 4 fights that Antonio Faria has been rocked. He was caught. I don't know that he was in serious trouble, but he was definitely in a spot of danger. There's no question about it. And Vinuelas did not come to lose. He did not come to be an opponent or to be the B-side. He came to be the fighter who, along with Dave LeDuc, may have planted his flag as the king of Bareknuckle. And so much talk, and rightly so, on the Canadian Dave LeDuc. But Antonio Faria, the Portuguese fighter based in Thailand, again, he had a successful defense. This was his first bout coming in as the WLC light welterweight champion. Now he has a successful defense, 4-0 in the promotion, not without adversity, but Faria is phenomenal. And when you're talking about the greatest fighters, forget if they're from Myanmar or if they're from Europe, if they're from South America, across Asia, it doesn't matter. I think you really start on a short list with Dave LeDuc and Antonio Faria. I think that's without dispute.
Do you think following this, Faria, his star is almost emphasized a little bit? Because I feel like Dave LeDuc is almost the go-to name as the face of the sport. But me and you have had several discussions now about the star power that Faria has. And I think fans almost fall in love with fighters more when they see them overcome that little bit of adversity. Like you said, the first time in 4 fights, he got dropped and he showed what a champion he is. And I think there's also interest in him from other quarters, other disciplines. We know that he's got real pedigree in Muay Thai, but he's absolutely made to be a king in this sport of Letway. But do you think he's going to be appreciated now more than ever?
Oh, I think he will. And, you know, you nailed it. And I think that's the hallmark of a great fighter and indeed a champion. And Faria is both. He's a great fighter and he's the WLC light welterweight champion, is to come back from adversity. You know, fighting is never easy, but it's a lot easier when you have a lead, when you're the front runner, when you're setting the tempo, when you're controlling and you're winning. Faria wasn't winning in this fight. He was actually losing. He was caught by Vinuelas. He came back. He found the way through. He made Vinuelas quit on his stool between rounds. And I agree. It's to overcome adversity. It's not a squash. It's a very difficult fight against a tough, tricky opponent in Francisco Vinuelas. And if there were any doubters, I can't believe there were, but if there were any doubters at all on Antonio Faria, I think they've been silenced by that performance because he showed his skill set, which we knew he had. First time it was a character test in WLC, and he passed that absolutely.
I think the fascinating thing for me is just how much guys like that live up to the hype. I mean, it's maybe the job of people like you and me to say, guys, you got to see this guy. You got to tune in. But it's 100% backed up by what he produced. Same with Suri Manfredi in the previous event, right? We talked her up and she kind of delivered way more than we could have ever imagined. And I think Antonio Faria, you just can't miss a fight when he's competing. All 4 of his fights have been fireworks. You commentated his viral fight against Mike Yan. That was ridiculous. I think over 11 million people have seen that now. So guys, when we tell you, check this guy out, you gotta believe us. Antonio Faria, the guy's a superstar. Lethwei Showcase, it was an awful lot of fun. There is something very special happening with this promotion and something really special happening with this sport. It's growing around the world and you can feel that buzz. You're over there in Kansas, Sean, and are you feeling it over there? Because you commentate all around the world and people ask you about Letway and WLC more than most others, right?
They do. I was just commentating an event in Florida this past weekend, and fighters on the card wanted to ask me about Letway. It's something that I'm asked about a lot. Fighters want to ask me about the rules. They always want to ask about the headbutts, and more they're asking, how do I fight in Myanmar? How do I fight in WLC? They're transfixed by it. You know, this, I think, Letway was the best kept secret in all of combat sports, and happily for you and me and for everyone at WLC and everyone worldwide, I think the secret is now out. And it's so cool to be part of the dominant promotion and the great sport of Letway. It's such a storied sport. It's such a wonderful part of the culture of Myanmar woven into the fabric. And now it's out and we're showcasing it worldwide in WLC. It really is a dream as a commentator and as a huge fight fan.
Do you think there's room for some collaboration there? You're kind of the voice of Bareknuckle on both sides of the globe right now. Is there a bit of room for collaboration between WLC and Bareknuckle FC, do you think?
Yeah, I think so. And that's exactly who I was commentating in Florida, BKFC. And I talked specifically about Antonio Faria, how good he would be for that. I could see cross promotes. What I like about both promotions, well, I like a lot of things. One thing specifically that I like about both promotions is that they understand that fighters have to make a living. So just because you're fighting in WLC doesn't mean you can't fight elsewhere. Same in Bareknuckle. You're fighting Bareknuckle, but you can take a boxing match or an MMA bout or a Letway fight somewhere else. So I think there's an excellent chance for collaboration. Johnny Bedford, who's the 135-pound champion in BKFC, he's talked to me extensively about what it would take to go to Myanmar and fight in WLC. He's extremely interested. And Joey Beltran, the heavyweight champion in BKFC, we've had those conversations as well. And again, I'm talking about Antonio Faria, how good I think Antonio Faria would be, Dave Leduc as well. I mean, you mentioned Mike Yine earlier. How great would it be to see someone like Mike Yine come in? It would be outstanding.
Yeah, have him fight in Texas or something. That'd be
exactly.
Cross cultures. I love it. Sean Wheelock, you're the main man. That was an epic show. Always a pleasure to commentate alongside you, mate. And I'm happy to say, despite everything that's going on in the world, a lot of exciting things await in this sport.
There's no question about it. I know plans for our next WLC, difficult times where you are, where I am worldwide, but we're getting through this. And what a pleasure to be able to put forth these most recent Letway shows, especially when you and I are talking about WLC Lethwei Showcase, and more to come in 2020 and certainly and beyond.
All right. Nice one, guys. Make sure you go follow Sean on social media, follow myself, and also follow WLC.